As you might expect, the first project I'm pulling off on this truck is putting a VHF UHF radio in it. I mean, I'd be a pretty lame ham if I didn't, right? I took the ICOM IC2730 out of my BMW, and it's time to install it on here. I'm going to take a slightly different approach than what Josh, Jason, and Vince have, in that I'm going to use the things that Ford makes available for us. And I think almost every other vehicle maker does the same thing in regards to getting the coax for the antenna inside of the vehicle. For this install, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lip mount, not on my door frame. At least I'm hoping not to yet. Not on the hood or on the door frame. I'm hoping not to anyhow. I will if I have to, but the bed has stake pockets. And I think this will fit inside of one of the stake pockets. I hope so anyhow, because that's what I'm banking on for this. And if it does, then this is a temporary solution that will work for me. Once I get a camper shell on it, different story. I'll have to find a different way. The ultimate answer I want for this is the bulletproof mount, but that's a bit pricey and I'm gonna have to wait a little bit on it. Once I have secured the purchase of the camper shell, I'll buy the bulletproof mount then. But until then, I hope this does the trick. I'm matching the lip mount with this Comet SBB5 NMO. Why the SBB5 NMO? Because it is a ground independent antenna for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. A couple of months ago, Jason had his stream with Let's Make a Deal at Gigaparts. I got that antenna and that mount then. I had other plans for it at the time, but guess what? Things changed, so here we are. Let's see if it'll actually work. I just took this thing out of the bag. A couple of things. One, I can see that this is much larger than the stake pocket, so that's a no-go. And two, imagine my surprise. I ordered the correct thing without knowing it. This is that MP type connector, and it's set up for SO239. So fishing this through is going to be a bit easier. Now the challenge is, where do I mount it? Because I'm pretty sure this is not going to fit. Yeah, that's not going to fit there. Fun times. No. Oh, there's a lip. Yeah, there's a lip here that I think is... Well, you know what? It doesn't matter whether it has a bond to the chassis or not, because that's a ground independent antenna, right? So that's what we'll do. I wonder how much of a pain it's going to be to turn these Allen head screws back here. Oh, quite a bit of a pain. Bit of a shift to get more room to actually be able to swing this wrench, because when I had it as up front as I could, I wasn't getting enough clearance on the bolt head here on this set screw to actually get the wrench in there, and I was hoping that only latching down one side would be enough, but it isn't. Good enough. So the first problem is solved. Where to mount it? On the lip of the bed? Good enough. I had to go a little bit farther this way than the maximum I wanted to go that way to make room for the wrench to give me room to get it into the set screw. If I had to do it all over again, I think I would go to the hardware store, find whatever pitch those little set screws are and change them for small bolts, because then I can at least put a wrench behind it and, you know, turn it instead of having to put an Allen key that has to hook in and, you know. Problem number two is going to be the antenna cable going into the cab. First, I want to feed it down the stake hole pocket. First, I'm going to put a little bit of loom on it though. I know there's a trick to doing this smarter, safer, easier, whatever. I don't know what the trick is, and I just don't feel like looking it up right now. I have enough loom on there to get it into the cab. Next, I'm just going to fish this wire through the pocket nicely and gently so that I don't create an issue. And that sounds like it's going all the way through clear, all the way to the bottom. Let's go down there and have a look. And we are clear to the bottom with loom, and this is where I'm going to change the script on what the other guys have done, at least the ones that I've seen. And that is, when I was a young, much younger man, I found out about this. Every single vehicle that I've had has had one of these in it, if not multiple, and that is to access the cabin without having to drill any extra holes into the chassis. Josh fished it through the vent that's back there in the back of the cab. I didn't see how Jason did his, and I didn't see, and Vince used the bulletproof mount. I'm going to take off the trim, get to this, and then I'm going to drill a hole here for another grommet. So it's going to be a grommet within the grommet, because that's technically a grommet, so that I can fish this coax in without having any issues. Real hard part now is going to be deciding where I want to put this radio. I think I want to put it back here. That grommet is right there. Question is, do I have enough room to drill that? You know, I won't be drilling it from the top. I'll be drilling it from the bottom, and then I'll put the rubber grommet on that, on the coax, and then feed it up. I've already drilled the hole and passed the beginning of the cable, the coax, through here. And now it's just a matter of getting it up here. Look at that. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but for now, let me get the grommet. So this is the grommet that I bought at the hardware store for this application. And you see that it is solid, and there's no way to make it stretch and go around. That's okay. From the very beginning, I knew that was going to be an issue. I'm going to cut this thing. I'm going to cut it on a cutting board over on the bench over there, and through the magic of editing, I'm back. It's cut. I'm going to put this around the coax. The coax will basically take up all that room, and then I will put this up into the hole that I made under there. I'll share when I'm done, because holding the camera and doing this is going to be impossible at the same time, and this tripod won't go low enough to aim up there. And now you see that the grommet is taking up all the room it needs to keep this sealed up. If we back up, we see that I have a drip loop set up on purpose here, and then I have the loom zip tied to the body there. There's enough slack that the body can flex, the whole thing can flex, and we're not going to put any tension on that line from driving it. So basically our antenna cable is ready to rock and roll. I'm going to channel it up and out right about here behind the junction of the seat, and then feed it around the seat to this position here. Next up, power. And this truck has a trick up its sleeve about power. I didn't go searching for this feature, but it is nice to have. On these trucks, you have the opportunity or the option of getting this thing, they're called upfitter switches. I didn't go looking for it. However, the deal that I struck was on this truck, and I didn't actually realize I had these until I was looking at a lot deeper into the specs. All I really was looking for was a 250 with a crew cab and an 8-foot bed. Type of engine didn't matter, size of engine didn't matter, options really didn't matter, because I was looking for a deal and not for a specific set of features other than those three. These upfitter switches are keyed. So this 1 through 4 are tied to the ignition, and 1 through 4 are each 25 amp. 5 and 6 are independent of the keys or the ignition setting. 5 and 6 are 40 amps each. Now, how does that work? They don't actually run thick enough cable up here to then bring it back down. No, this is a relay system. So there's a box on the in the engine bay that has the relays that are also tied to this, and from there I can go to wherever I'm going. So I am going to designate switch number 4 for this radio. I'm thinking about putting a horn, a louder horn, on number 1, and then later on my plan is to put a feed line from the engine compartment into the bed, where I will have a charge controller tied to my lithium iron phosphate battery to then charge it while I'm driving at up to 40 ampere hours. In this 2024, the upfitter relays and fuses are in this box. And from the bottom of the box, there is a harness that comes out with color-coded cables that you use to tie into the specific circuit that you want to tie into. However, so far the only place I have found to go into the cabin from the engine bay is in here at that grommet there, and it even has a spot. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I'll try to point it out. That one there that's not being used, that I presume is specifically there for us to bring wires into the cabin. However, getting to that spot from within the inside of the cabin is a bear. I've spent the last 40 minutes trying to get to it without taking half the cabin apart, and I haven't found a way so far. So change order, I think number 3 by now, but I could be wrong. Instead of using an upfitter switch today, I will do that some other time. I'm just going to do the MRD thing, and I'm just going to put a big battery in the back seat to run the radio. I can always take it out and charge it on a weekly basis if I need to. And then I'll have my radio running this week because I really don't have time to continue to try to figure this out without taking half the cabin apart. I'm going to recap what I've done here off camera. I ran the control wire and the audio wire alongside between the center and the passenger seat rail. I brought it up to the console, kind of pinched it there to secure it, and up I have the speaker over there in this little tray, and then I put the radio control head. It basically is a friction fit in there, and what I want to do is I want to drill a hole in the back of the cubby and feed all the wires through there and then fish them all through the cabin. But before I do that, I want to make sure that that's where I want the control head. So I'll run like this for a month or two, and if I'm happy that way after, let's say, December, then I'll go ahead and make a modification to the setup. If I'm happy with everything, I'll make a modification to the setup so that the wires come out of the inside of the cubby, and then there's this fewer wires stringing out on the outside. Now it's time for me to get a battery and put this thing to the test. Got ahead of myself a little bit, didn't show you the back. So this is going to be under the seat. I don't have a mounting bracket for it, so I didn't put the table or the piece of board under the carpet to screw it in yet. Once I buy the mount and make this entirely permanent with power coming from the upfitter relays, I'll definitely put the board under there the way Shane did for Josh's setup. That's pretty brilliant. I'm sure the question is going to be raised of why don't I do this the same way as I had in my car with this going into the 12-volt outlet that's on the back seat, and that is, I don't know what that harness looks like. I haven't looked at the gauge of that wire. I haven't taken it apart, so I don't know if it'll support 20 amps of draw. If it does, great, maybe we'll do that. But for now, the plan is to bring the upfitter circuit into this area here. I'm actually thinking about running 2 of those in here. Once I run 1, may as well run 2, right? The idea being I want to put an HF radio in here at some point in time in the future. The other thing I got ahead of myself on, if I have the radio connected to the mount for the antenna, but I don't have an antenna on, so let's put an antenna on. We're gonna angle that down. That's actually pretty loose in there. Let's I'm supporting the base of the mount, and I think I need to get yeah, that needs to be tightened down. Let's see there, and then we need to tighten down this pivot, which I think is 10 mil. I'm in my buddy's garage, so it's been raining on and off all day, and this vehicle will not fit in my garage at all. I would have to build a whole new garage, and you know what? That's not happening. So my buddy's kind enough to let me work in his garage when I need to, and here I am. Okay, that's nice and snug. There's another one here that needs to be snugged down. So the antenna is finally mounted. I have the bolts snugged down. Now it's time to go get a battery and see if it will shoot with a local repeater. 12.5 volts. So my lithium iron phosphate battery obviously needs a bit of a charge, but it should do okay. Let's see. K9OL testing 7.6. Oh, this may work better if I turn up the volume. Let's try that again. K9OL testing 7.6. So we have the tail of the repeater. I don't think there's anybody out there. It is a Sunday afternoon, about 3:30 my time. Let's go to, I should probably just use my microphone. Let's see, go there and then go. Let's see the local repeater. K9 OL testing on WC9AR. Also another one where I need to turn up the volume. Well, we definitely heard the repeater's ID. K9 OL testing, WC9AR. That's the 70 centimeters repeater in town. I know if Roger's listening, he'll definitely answer. I'm going to give him a minute. Nothing heard. Kilo 9er Oscar Lima clear. So now I got to figure out a way of keeping my microphone handy. I think maybe put a hook there. That's a project I'm going to have to model for the 3D printer to do. Steve sent me a model. Actually, I might just find that one and print that one out and see if it works. That's all I have on this one, folks. Catch you in the next one. 7-3.